Tonight, as I was taking my daughter trick-or-treating, we stopped at a guy's house who gave my daughter her candy and then handed me a beer and said, "Here's a little treat for daddy." What is the best treat that you have gotten on Halloween, Reddit? Went trick-or-treating around the ghetto in LA. One house gave me something called Butterfinger. I'm not sure if there's really marijuana in it or if it's just a bootleg at Butterfinger, but I'll find out soon enough. It's been an hour. Ops dead. Probably. You can die from just one marijuana. Nah, I heard the maximum is 3 marijuanas. Maybe not the best, but the strangest. Growing up, I lived in an Italian neighborhood in Toronto. One year, one of the old nonnas who lived on the block gave me a loaf of whole wheat bread and at least one bag of milk. She gave my dad a bottle of, homemade, I believe, red wine. I got a rock. Rocks are good. Not too good for the old teeth though. I was about 15 at the time. I'm from Australia, so we don't do it around here much. I got a few things, nothing spectacular. I was on my way home, and a bunch of teenagers older than me, probably around 19, walked past. It was 2 boys and 2 girls. One of the girls said, "If you give me lollies, candy, I'll show you my boobs." And the guy who was standing next to her said she would actually do it. Before I even said anything, fair enough, she lifted her top up, and I got to see my first pair of boobs. I gave her a candy cane. Then I went home, and never told anyone until now. I haven't been trick or treating since then, because I don't think anything can top that. Best to go out on top. Also, candy canes? Those are strictly for Christmas, you silly Aussies. Well, not something I got, but made some kid's day yesterday. I had a big bowl of candy, licorice, mini chocolate bars, rockets, fuzzy peaches, the works. All of Halloween night. Only one kid actually came to my door at around 9. He looked like he was about 8 and dressed up like Captain America, so I just dumped the entire bowl into his bag and said, "Cool costume, buddy." He was very excited. The first year my husband and I were in our townhome, we were excited to hand out candy. There were about 4 kids total. The last kid got about 45 pieces of candy dumped into his bowl. The look he gave me was the best Halloween treat ever. Yeah, the kid who came to my house last night was pretty excited. His mom was right behind him, her much less so. I always fantasized about that as a kid, someone just dumping the entire bowl right into my bag. So I was also pretty happy to make my adolescent Halloween dream come true for a kid. I gave the kids next door some candy and their dad came over and gave me a roast beef leg that's so big I'm going to have to cut it in half to get it in the oven. Random meat, always a treat. I have a friend who I think that's his personal tagline. He's a gay slut. Sexy Pocahontas handing out candy and making sure that she leans over just enough to give all of the dads a show. She was Cleopatra last year, giving the same show. She knows what she's doing. Did she help you raise a teepee? I'll show myself out. I tried to do this last night, but sadly I only got about 4 groups of trick-or-treaters. The one father who accompanied his kids to the door either didn't know what I meant when I pointed to my open cooler of beer and said I have grown-up candy, or he chose to ignore me. On the bright side, I now have 29 extra beers in the fridge. I was going to trick or treat tonight with some friends. We're 20, but it's probably okay because I live in a college town. We stopped at the first house with decorations and the guy said that he had no candy left since they're all stoners and had eaten it all. We said that we'd accept other things besides candy, so he ended up smoking us out. We went into his house, watched numerous episodes of Seinfeld and made muffins. I didn't even catch his name. Watching Seinfeld and enjoying nature is also how I spent my night, while dressed as Rick Grimes. Namaste. Tonight was my little girl's first Halloween. She was dressed as a butterfly and spent most of the evening chewing on her antennae instead of candy. Even though it was damn cold out, she didn't cry once and smiled at everyone she met as we walked around with her older half-sister. It was an amazing experience. But yeah, I'd have to say Butterfingers. Or my heart melted at the chewed on her antennae part. How old is she? Edit. You're terrible. 19. I think you meant chew on her boyfriend's antennae. This week on Barely Legal. When I was really little, my brother and I went out trick-or-treating together as children usually do. On our way to this house we were shoved off of the sidewalk by these two older kids. Anyways, we followed them up to the house where, as luck would have it, those kids got the last of the candy. Right before we got to the door, we said thank you anyways, and turned to go before the guy at the door called us back. He said he saw those kids push us out of the way, and felt bad for them taking the last of the candy. So he went inside and brought us back a 12-pack of Pepsi, another in Sprite, and gave us each $5. My mom about died of laughter when we came back to the car with all of that soda. The guy I'm dating skipped class to spend time with me on Halloween today. We had a dinner party, and then I went out with him, my cousin and her boyfriend, to go trick-or-treating. We had on costumes, and people were really nice to us, and gave us candy, even though we are too old to be doing this. Anyway, one house was giving away ring pops, and king-sized candy bars. It was amazing. Few years back, I was working in a mall photo studio. It was hectic, as you might expect. Got home, knew the neighborhood was going to be crazy. We had a tradition on our street of having a chili cook-off, and the neighbors would rent a cotton candy machine. So I arrive home, neighbors are across the street, and one sees me and says, "You look like hell. Here," and hands me a jello shot. It was a pretty good jello shot too. Then I went home, and learned my sister had set the oven on fire. Fun day. When I was growing up, my next door neighbors would always have hot multi idea and donuts for the adults. Half the time, my parents just ended up hanging out with them all night and sending us kids on our own around the neighborhood. It sucks that doesn't happen anymore. People don't even trust neighbors enough to actually go trick-or-treating. It's all trunk-or-treating now. Back when I was a kid, a neighbor gave us hot dogs and lemonade and put on a little haunted house/pirate show. We actually went into their house while all the parents relaxed outside. Yep. The worst part is that all the paranoia is over nothing, but it has broken down the fabric of trust that have been a hallmark of American communities for 300 years. Tonight, I made a point of taking my daughter around to all the neighbors to meet them all, say where we live, exchange names and so forth. We got several welcome to the neighborhood even though we've been living here for 2 years. That's awesome you did that through. Sucks they didn't know you. My only times with neighbors have been negative. Neighbors to the left are a big Mexican family, not a bad thing, but every holiday/big game day there is zero parking, lots of yelling and blaring mariachi music until 3 AM. Neighbors to the right feel they have the right to make me move my car out of its spot on the street. Neighbors across the street attempt to make me move my car from the spot near their house for their trash cans, even though their driveway is empty and their cars are parked on the street. Hate them all. If my neighbors threw regular big ass parties, I'd try to go. I'm kind of irresponsible, though. Well, not something that I got, but what I gave out. I live in Arizona, and every year my family has a bowl full of candy, and also a cooler filled with cold water bottles. You can't imagine how happy the parents are, and many of the kids too, to get a cold bottle of water. Especially when it's still 100 degrees at night, which has happened. Also, the candy bars are whole bars, not the small little wee bit bite-sized ones. On Halloween, I don't F around. I'm not sure how I would handle the hot Halloween. It doesn't sound like it would feel right. It would if you were one of them half-naked girls. Over the summer, when I was 9 or so, my sister and I found a stray dog and fell in love with him. Eventually we hunted down his home and returned him to the family, who was very gracious. When we went by there on Halloween that year, the mom recognized us and had 2 jumbo Hershey bars waiting specifically for us. One year, I was about 12, went trick-or-treating with 2 of my friends. It was getting near the end of the night and we decided on one last house. Turns out the guy had his porch light on for the pizza guy, but told us to wait there. He came back with a large jar of coin change and divided it between us. Made $55 bucks. It was amazing. At age 12, $55 seems like a million. Hell, at age 19 in college $55 would be pretty damn awesome right about now. 23 here. I'd be ecstatic. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe.